Good afternoon, it is Wednesday, my dudes, which means it's time for another buyer's guide. And this week, things have been spiced up considerably because now, if you go to the clearance section, which we'll do with that button over there, there's 22 graphics cards that have been put on special. So I thought, why don't I give you a candid roundup and literally go through all 22 of these GPUs to give you my thoughts thereon and experiences with them, and then show you like really good base platforms for PCs and for a PC that you could build, because honestly, now's the time to strike. Shortages are going to be coming in the near future because of our dearest Vladimir Putin it in everybody's butt, really. And so it's the time to strike, genuinely, it really is. So let's start off from the top with the 6500 XT. It's a 4 gig graphics card. As you may have seen through some of the reviews and stuff, I have used some 4 gig GPUs and they run out of VRAM now, even at 1080p. The current next gen games and stuff, it's just not enough VRAM. At 4,599 Rand though, it will play games and it will play them pretty well. Like I said, the memory size and the bandwidth is significantly gimped down. It's actually basically a laptop GPU with like a very basic average memory setup. Not the greatest. But the price point, it is very competitive. At its price point, that it is more than competitive. The RX 6600 8 gig, and especially the Asus Dual at that price, is like, what? 7.5K for that? It's literally a 2070 for 7.5 grand. It completely outprices the 1660 Super palette. It's like, if you're a massive Nvidia fan and you absolutely don't want to go anywhere near AMD, sure, but your performance difference is going to be like 15-20% here for the exact same amount of money, maybe even actually probably a little bit more than that. Even the 6600 Speedster as well, it's great price versus performance. Pick between these two, it's basically going to be the same graphics card in a lot of ways. I've got the 210 on the test bench right now. It runs mega silent, is one of the really nice things. One friend was kind of stunned because it's on open air and you couldn't hear it at all. So it does run really nicely. Similarly, the MSI mech is going to be basically in line with these. You can see they've all got pretty much the same cooling setup. Just a dual fan, like decently beefy cooler, is going to keep these things pretty cool. And they don't need a lot of PSU as well. You can run these literally over 600 watt, like 80 plus base rating, not even a bronze rating, and a normal 600 watt 80 plus will be able to run any of these pretty handily. The 1660 Ti as well, similarly, is just outdone. It's just outstripped by these RX 6600s. The price versus performance right now on these is absolutely phenomenal. And then moving down now is where Nvidia starts to clap back and get a little interesting, because RTX 2060, even though it's got like a super low tensor core count, you can still render through it on OBS quite nicely and use the NVENC encoder to the tune of like 1 to 2% performance loss. It doesn't impact your system nearly as much as software encoding, so you can then render through that GPU, unlike the 6600 XT. But if pure gaming performance is what you're after, the 6600 XTs are 2070 Supers plus 7% on average. So they are 2070 Super pluses. And so as far as price versus performance goes, they're still the kings over there. Similarly, Ventus, it's basically the same as the Asus. I would say between the two, the Ventus will probably have slightly better cooling than the Asus Dual. The Tough series is more in line with the Ventus, so this is a little bit higher end. Similarly, this is another Asus Evo 2060 OC. The Evo is probably the Evo is the Dual, but for system integration, if I remember correctly. So it's basically the same card in a lot of ways. The 210 6600 XT, really nice card. I don't know if I would take it over the MSI though. I think the MSI at that price point just makes a lot of sense at the moment. Here's where we get to where now Nvidia once again clamps back in the form of this MSI 3060 for 11K. The price versus performance over across these two is going to go towards the 6600 XT. But once again, you've got RTX cores. Now you have a decent amount, more than a decent amount. You can run DLSS properly. You can actually get proper ray tracing performance from this card. And then, like I say, you can use those RTX features. I use them all the time. Right now, I'm using the NVIDIA broadcast software to do my microphone and to do my camera. It's really, really useful stuff. If you are a streamer, an RTX card is like a no-brainer. You almost have to have it. Moving into now more high-end areas, 6700 XT at 14K is very competitive. It's not nearly as good as the 3070, so it should be considerably less price. So at this price versus performance, I think this is actually slightly better on a price per frame rate. There's about a 20% performance difference here, but yeah, 18K to 14200 is more than 20% in price. That being said, the Aorus 3070 at that price is, I think we can agree, quite aggressive. But I mean, look at this game with 3080 for 22 grand right now. That's the price of like most 3070 Ti's. And while there's not like a massive performance difference between the two, that price point is like very, very, very good, I have to say, for that card. But this honestly, right now, we just hit the pinnacle of price versus performance. The RX 6800 is a monster. It's also got 16 gigs of video memory. So for 2K and 4K performance, it's actually better than a 3080. Can you believe it? It really is. Just because these things tend to run out of memory because they've only got 10 gigs of memory. So if a high resolution gaming is your goal, look no further. That is the best price versus performance card, I think, the market over. Every time I do my research and I look at stuff, especially on Tech Power Up, they've got like really nice lists for general performance of Founders Edition or first generation cards listed against each other. And price versus performance, this thing always comes out on top. It is 23,000 rand for a graphics card. I don't know what happened, but it's very, very good at the money. Palette, the game rocks aren't bad. I don't dislike these cards. My friend has the 2070 Super version of this, and they are pretty solid. His hasn't skipped a beat. So if you are looking at a 3080 with a little bit of bling, there you go. The Evetech cards, I'm not the biggest fan of, but 25k for 3080 in this climate is pretty aggressive. 6900 XTs though, just then once again thump that into the ground because 16 gig video memory and it's a 6900 XT. Having used literally this water-cooled Strix one, it will annihilate any graphics card pretty much on the market outside of the 3090. And now there's a 3090 Ti because this is actually too close for NVIDIA's comfort. Pretty much. These cards also have fantastic encoding. I mean, some of the best that I've ever gotten recently has been on the new encoding stuff for the 6000 series graphics cards. I actually mentioned that in the review that I actually can present that to you and it looks good. On the same bitrate as NVIDIA, the AMD actually looked better with its capture software, which is the first. It's the first time I've ever seen that. So right now, if you're looking at a premium GPU, there is nothing better than that 6900 XT. At that price point, there's just nothing better. 26k, you're getting a water-cooled, mind you, water-cooled 240mm rad attached directly to the card with a blower style as well. So when it's in a low usage environment, those fans then don't have to spin. It's going to save the bearing lifetime on those. This thing is it's just disgusting. But now let's move on to building a PC. So we've got two upgrade kits here in question that are really nicely spec'd as base platforms because of the memory that they're coming with, because 3600 CL18s from Uncle Evetech are fantastic. I'm literally running those and I've run them even on the test bench for the DDR4 versus DDR5. I've literally run those and they work on everything. There's no compatibility issues. Controllers are great. I would suggest, however, you look at doing the 32 gig RAM upgrade. Just because I ran 16 gig RAM, okay, I use a boatload of stuff. I've got like 2 browsers going, Discord, Outlook, you name it, right? I've got like 7 or 8 base programs that I have running at any one point in time, so it does impact my system quite a lot. And I noticed that 16 gig RAM was just not cutting the mustard, especially when I was gaming and trying to alt tab and go back to my browser. My system was so glitchy. I thought I had a software issue from it, but then I looked at my memory usage and it was just maxing out all the time. 16 gig is enough for gaming. but 32 is just going to serve you that much better. And currently with Uncle Evetech throwing that at you for 1,500 Rand for another 16 gigs of 3600 CL18, it's an absolute no-brainer. Just get that. Similarly, if you want something Intel, this is the kit that I would suggest. It is actually slightly cheaper, and it does have basically all the features from the other compared to the AMD kit. The only thing with the AMD kit is because of the X570 chipset, you do get extra PCI Express lanes. So if you're looking at running more than one NVMe, like your boy, where I have one like for gaming and one for my OS and editing and stuff off of, then it's a no-brainer. Go get the AMD. But both of these platforms, you'll be able to upgrade quite nicely because, for instance, with the Z590 Plus, because it's a tough board, the power phasing is disgusting. It's a 14+2. So if you wanted to put an 11900K on this in the future, or an 11700K, I think is a lot more reasonably priced, especially with the 12th gen stuff coming in. People are clearing out their old stock, etc. Then you can upgrade nicely on that. The 11400F and the 3600, the Ryzen 5 3600 are basically exactly the same. I think that Intel actually probably has the edge in 1080p gaming. But both of those platforms are super easy to keep cool. So this is all I would suggest. You don't need anything more than a tower cooler for a 6-core. If you're going to look at getting like an 8-core or like do some overclocking with a high-end CPU, or even on the AMD platform, you can get a 12 or 16-core, then I would suggest you look at the 8100, the Corsair 8100. But just for these base spec systems with the 6-core CPUs, they literally like don't create any heat. You could literally use that tiny little Intel stock cooler on either of them, and they would run like perfectly. So a nice little tower cooler like this, it's going to do a very good job. Now for storage, I suggest you combo up your stuff. Don't even look at 2.5 inch SSDs. Their price versus performance right now is just basically like their clearance stock. If you can get a deal on one, sure. But an NVMe on either of these is going to go down an absolute treat, and especially this E3000. Price versus performance here is very good. It doesn't come with a heatsink, but both of those boards do, so you can just put them underneath the heatsink for the Gen 4 speed. And then yeah, with a Gen 4 board with a high-end Gen 3 NVMe, basically it maxes out the read and write, and then your small file type handlings actually also do run quite nicely. But you'll be able to get a Gen 4 then in the future. They are just a little bit pricey compared to the Gen 3s. The Gen 3s really are the run rate product, so the price point now, I mean, 1,900 Rand for 1 TB NVMe is like, with a 5-year warranty, it's like next to nothing, let's be real. And then to back that up, because you don't want to put 250 gigs of COD on an NVMe, just grab one of these 4 TBs. 256 meg cache is nice. 1.6, it's like, I mean, it's great for the money, and the fact that it's a 256 meg cache. Trust, even the 128 meg cache to that, it's pretty noticeable. Your sustained data rate improves by like 20-30 megabytes a second, so load times are just that much better. Then to power it all, this is what I would suggest: the Antec HCG 750 bronze. I've got the HCG 850 gold, fully modular. They're basically the same in format and build, etc. But you can see with the NFG efficiency rating, they got to 89%, which is pretty good, must say. Full Japanese caps, you know, they're very confident in the power supply, giving it a 5-year local warranty. The 1,400 Rand, and you got a fully modular system. It's going to keep the build nice and clean. Now we need to put all of this stuff in something, and especially if you're going to get like a higher end GPU like a 3070, I would say even up to 3070, even like borderline 3080, let's say 6700 XT and 3070 would be like kind of the limit for these builds. But those are still quite big cards, they're still quite long, so you're still going to have something that can store them quite well. I really like 275 bars. I'm super bleak that the gunmetal gray version is gone. I don't know why it's not in stock anymore. Corsair, why? You're literally just making me cry in Spanish. Sorry about that. I hope that music and etc. wasn't too deafening. But these are so good. The dimensioning of this case is perfect for a mid-sized tower, because look how much space they've left in there for your GPU and for your cooling. So you can have front mount radiator, you can top mount on this as well. It does include the two 120s at the front and the other 120 at the back, which is going to obviously be quite nice, and you only need one extra fan kit in order to fully saturate the build. But even just with that, it's going to run pretty well, especially if you only, like I say, if you go for like a 6600 or 6600 XT mid-range GPU like that, those things only pull like 180 watt. They need a little bit of airflow over them in order for them to basically run at their radiated temps that you would normally see even if I had them on the open air. There's just a little bit of airflow through there. They're not going to protest. Having built in this case, like I say, the layout, dimensions and stuff, I absolutely love the chassis. It's really, really good. It's got everything you need. 280, 360, 240 up top. You can put a 140 up at the back if you want it. Like I said, it comes with the 3 fans built into it. There's plenty of storage space and addition. So even with the 3.5, you can get another 4 TB. I mean, that's 8 TB worth of spinning storage, plus a bunch of 2.5-inch bays. So if you've got 2.5s, you can then still put those from your old machine into this machine, use them for games or whatever else the case is. But this case gives you a lot of options. The Garretts are nice. Like I say, the layout for this is one of the best, and I just don't understand why it's not popular, because this thing is so good. But now if you want something a little bit bigger to store in like that 6900 XT and do the dual 240, then this is what I would suggest. I've literally just finished my build into this case. It's really, really nicely set up for that. The dimensionings and stuff are pretty good. The built-in fan kit is not something I would rely on, but the full mesh front and full mesh top and the base dimensioning, you see like the spaces and stuff that they've left, especially towards the top of the case, mean that it's going to be really easy to get that dual 240mm set up inside of this case. It really is. I've got a 280 running in the front of mine with a full push-pull setup, and my Gaming X 2070 Super, which is a 300mm plus card, and there's actually still like 4 or 5 centimeters worth of gap there. So there's plenty of space for really fat boy GPUs. Like, it's really well dimensioned. The only complaints I really have for this is some of the materials and stuff they've used are a little bit on the cheaper end, and the built-in fan kit is average at best. So if the built-in fan kit is average at best, what do you get? Well, Antec Prism. This 3 fan kit is the best price versus performance 3 fan kit I've used pretty much in the last year. The dual ring design is like really nice on the RGB. The air pressure from these is super, super good. My mate's got a full Antec Prism setup with the Antec Prism cooler. We even got in that dual 120 in the 240 thing for his radiator, and then a pack of these to finish out the case. And his temps are phenomenal. He's got a tough 3080 in there. He's got I think it's the 5900X we put in there for him as well. So he's got a really, really high-end system. Top 3%, global system, and it's all Antec cooled. And the temps that were observed in there were absolutely flawless. Price versus performance on this kit is exceptionally good. Anywho, that is all I have for you this week. Guys, like I say, the gavel is really, really hot right now. Transport costs are about to go through the roof. You're going to see like 10 to 20% increases just against transport costs. Our government is throwing ridiculous amounts of levy onto the fuel. There's another R2 increase this week. It's kind of mad. So yeah, like I say, buy it if you can in this month. Get it, then get it. Even if it hurts a little bit and you're eating noodles for a week in April, trust you'll be smiling, because you'll be eating steak when you basically wouldn't even be able to afford what you bought this week. So yeah, just a little heads up. Anyway, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed it. DDR4 vs DDR5 will be out tomorrow. Until then, stay safe, keep well, and I will see you on the flip side.